Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another day of Kit Conspiracy. This is also a messy Monday, which means MK and I are doing some mixed media. We are using ink all month long on Mondays, and we are going to tell you more about our process for mixed media. Rather than necessarily focusing on all of the rest of the layout so much, which is great because I had nothing but trouble with this layout, but I didn't want to not show you. So somehow I missed all of the footage of the mixed media, so I had to redo it, and you're going to have to use your imagination and pretend that my photos are there. But I'm going to show you in depth how I did it. And then I forgot to put the Post-its back on the faces. For some reason I had taken them off. So when I was finishing up my embellishments, I think I was actually adding a few embellishments at the end, and I had lost a ton of footage. I don't know what happened to the footage of the mixed media portion of it, and that's why I went ahead and redid it. But I went ahead and cut some of the papers from the Cocoa Vanilla masculine mashup kit that MK and I are using for Kit Conspiracy for this week. We do have a new kit share tomorrow, so come back and check that out, and we will be using it from Tuesday until next Monday. But this was a masculine mashup, so I've got photos of my son and my husband at a camp out. There are a bunch of their friends, which are other people's kids, which is why the faces are covered. And my son has asked me to cover his face on social media as well. And he's got his own reasons for that, and I respect that. So I went ahead and inked up all of my hexagons with some Black Soot Distress ink. I am gluing the ones that are touching the photo mats to the photo mats so I can just move them and place them all as one unit. I'm also going to be doing a bunch of stitching with the new Hexagon stitching template that MK came out with, and you're going to see me here just marking the stitching using the template. I did that on all of the hexagons, including the ones that are tucked under, but I didn't go and do the portions that are tucked under. I did trim down my white paper by about 1/4 of an inch on for top and bottom total, so 1/8 of an inch on each side, and then 1/8 of an inch on the outer edge. So I've got a nice black border. I'm now marking where the hexagons are going to be cut off of the edge of the page, so I don't waste my time in doing the stitching on those portions of those hexagons. Now I'm going to go ahead and mark all of the hexagons like I said. I'm just showing you here that I even did the ones that are going underneath the photo mats, but I didn't do the portion that's underneath the photo mats because I know that's going to get covered. Hi there. So somehow I did not capture the mixed media portion of this layout, and that is like the main part of this layout. So I am going to redo it, but I can't redo all of it because my layout's already done. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you an idea of what I did here. So these are my little hexagon templates. My layout does have hexagons on it, as you will see. We're just going to pretend, I'm just using an 8.5 by 11 simply because that is, I didn't feel like I needed to do two 12 by 12s as the layout is actually two 12 by 12s, so that you get the idea of what was done. So we're going to use this as my photo. This is going to be my hexagon area. And I'm going to show you exactly what I did. I zoomed in here so maybe you can see just a little bit better what I did. So I like to start by marking out where my photos are going so that I don't waste my time or my product when I am doing my mixed media. We are going to be using, or I'm using ink. MK and I are using ink for the month of April for our Messy Mondays, so that we can kind of just get a little more detailed into what we're doing with it and how it works. So I kind of just tuck my pencil under the side a little bit and mark it out. I know I'm going to have a hexagon down in this area. We'll go a little higher. I'm just marking it. So like I said, I don't spend a lot of time in those areas doing mixed media, and hopefully you can see that. Yes, you can. Okay. And so we are using ink. I'm just using Distress ink today. I'm not using the oxide. I'm just using the regular Hickory Smoke Distress ink. My main reason for that was the color matched better to the wood grain in my layout. And I'm going to use this flat brush. Now this is just a cheap one off of Amazon, mostly because I wasn't sure if I liked this style of brush. I am used to using this style of brush. And I have these brushes in an assortment of colors, a rainbow of colors, I should say. But I thought I would try this brush because A, the surface is larger, which is going to give me better coverage. Also, it is a nice flat surface, which means I'm going to get better coverage, whereas this is just capturing the middle unless I'm pressing down really hard. It's just capturing the middle of the brush, which is great for some instances, but because I wanted to do quite a bit of coverage on my double page layout, the other brush I felt would take a lot more time. And the reason I'm not using an ink applicator such as this, which you could use, but a lot of times when you do that, you put it down and then you end up with a little ring from where you first tapped it down, and it just doesn't blend as nicely. Also, there's a lot more friction in that than there is in the brush, and it's a little bit more tiring for my hand. So I'm just using some hickory smoke. I also am giving it a good coating here, rubbing it in there. I'm also starting where I know my photos are going to cover, because sometimes you still get that little ring. But I like to start underneath and work my way out. And this is going to be very subtle. I'm not going over really dark, but hopefully you'll be able to see. And let me put this down. That's just a magnet to kind of hold my paper in place. And I'm working my way out from behind the photo, and I am going to go out behind some of the hexagons. Like I said, it's not going to be full coverage. It's going to look kind of dirty on this page, in fact, mostly because I'm just using gray. If I was using a different color, it wouldn't look like it was just like a faded white paper. But I'm going to add some stencil work right on top of this, and then I'm going to add some splatter, and it's all going to be using the same ink. So I'm really just coming out from behind my photos. In my original layout, which you're going to see me build here after I do this, you will see that it's a double page layout with multiple photos. So you can consider this a photo cluster. You can consider it one photo. I'm just giving you the idea of how I went about applying the mixed media, because that's what Messy Monday is all about. We wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit more of an in-depth glimpse into our thought process when we are doing mixed media. Now, MK and I do things differently, and there's not one right or wrong way to do this. You can do it many different ways. I am giving you what works best for me, my brain, and for me to get the best results. What works for her might be slightly different. And she sometimes has a lot more ideas on how to use her products differently than I do, and maybe sometimes I have ideas on how to use it differently than she does, which is really cool because then you get to see several different ways to use things. So this is, again, it's just Distress ink. This is a dye-based ink. It's water-based. It is water reactive. I'm going to sprinkle a little water over it too, but it's not going to be really in your face bold or anything like that because, as I said, I'm going for a very kind of muted effect. I'm not going for a really bold effect. I feel like I might need to add some re-inker to my ink pad as well, but I don't know. It looks like it's wet. But if I add re-inker right now, then I'll probably have to redo everything because it's going to make it a lot more saturated like this when you first use it. Yeah. So as you can see, I'm not really going under these areas where I know there's going to be stuff. I'll go a little bit in that area because I don't want it to be just like it's white underneath, especially with the hexagons. You do see in between where they meet up because I don't put them down so that they're joined all the way. I leave a gap in between. These are just templates. I wrote template on them so that I don't actually use them on a layout, and they just go in my bag with me when I go to crops and stuff. So I don't feel like I need to take punches for hexagons. I do have a couple punches. They're much smaller than these ones that are here. But I also, these are simple enough. They're just straight lines. I don't need to have my silhouette or something like that to cut them, or dies. I can just take those. They stay in my bag usually, and I can just reach for them while I'm at a retreat or something and not have to worry about it. Okay, so the idea was not really to get behind the photo area, but I start there so it looks like I've got a lot of coverage there. I don't know if you can see that nice gray haze coming out. Oh yeah, you can see that really well actually. It doesn't look so pretty when it doesn't have the photo because it has all these little rings where I first set my ink tool down. But all the way around it looks really good. So I'm pretty happy with that. I might go a little bit wider on the two edges, just a little bit. So let me go ahead and do that. I I don't know if it's going to get super dark or anything like that just with a couple more swipes, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm liking how that's looking. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is I've got some water. I'm going to sprinkle some of that over it. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do my stencil work first, and then I'll do that. So I know since I'm going to have some hexagons in these areas, and my hexagons are going to be, this is not to scale of what I have, and there's going to be like another one up in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and build this out from underneath. So if there was like one here, and then this is here, I know that I want to have some stencil work here and a little bit down here, but I don't want it to be like a line. You want it to be a little bit like peeking out from underneath the areas, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go ahead and put this guy here. I am going to put my magnet down using my glass mat isn't magnetic. That is from Glassboard Studio, as well as the magnet is from Glassboard Studio. So I'm just kind of staying concentrated in one area for this, and hopefully that will show. You can kind of, with the magnet, it makes it really easy just to peel it back and you can see what you've done. And then over here, I think I'm going to go for some of the larger hexagons and some of the smaller ones. And I don't think I'm going to go all the way to the edge of the page. I'm just going to go peeking out from behind the photograph. And then I'm going to do the same over here. I know there was going to be like hexagons in this area, so maybe I'll do a little bit down here. And I don't want it to stop abruptly, so I don't want to go all the way to the edge of the stencil and have just a line of hexagons. I want it to kind of fade. A little bit lower on this one. Okay, and then we'll do a little bit up top. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, so now you can see where all of my stencil work is. Let's pretend this is to scale. And I apologize that I don't know, I could have sworn I had my camera on. I remember turning it on and off. I just do not know what happened to the footage. So this is the best I've got unless I redo the whole entire thing because the whole layout's made. So there's what we've got so far. And I think that looks really cool. And I think you can get a good idea of what it looks like. I could also have maybe a little bit coming in really, really light over here. Really light, like right up in here. Yeah, like that. And then maybe I'll do a little bit really light down in here. And by really light, it's super light, you guys. You can see, I'm going to bring it up to the camera there because I know this is really hard to see. You can see down here, it's there, but it's not in your face dark at all. And then same up here. Okay, so then because this is water reactive, it's not going to make a huge, you're not going to see a lot of it because it's a very light application. But you could go over it just by spraying, but then you're going to get kind of a finer splatter. I like to spray in my hand a couple times and then flick. And then flick. And you can already start to see the effects. Let's see if we can see it once it dries. We'll let it dry for a moment and then dry my hand off so I don't spread more water everywhere. And in the interest of time up in this area, I'm going to dry that because there's not any ink up there anyway. But it's very subtle. There's a good chance that a lot of it's going to already get covered up with mixed media, or with my hexagons or whatever. I might do a little bit more down here and a little up there because those areas do not have as much paper. There's no paper. There's not as many paper layers in that area. So that's going to give you a little chance to see it. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay this over it just to dry it off. But you can definitely see how the water reacted with the ink. Give me some splatter. I like that. And then I want to do some black splatter. So this is just Black Soot Distress ink. And I don't actually have a water bottle or a cup of water sitting here, so I'm just spraying it onto directly straight to my paintbrush. But basically you're making your own watercolor out of your ink because these are water-based, they're water reactive. And then this brush is a number 14 round, which not all 14s are the same. It's what I like, but you can see these are two different brands and they're very different in size. But I like kind of a full brush. You don't have to use a full brush though. You could use a smaller brush. You could use a fan brush. A fan brush like this will give you really fine splatters. This one's going to give you bigger, so you can see. If you want it really big, you can also spray directly into your brush, load it up with water, and then give it just like a light tap and you get really big splatters. Okay, and I'll show you what the fan brush does too, since this is not going to be my finished work. I'll give you an idea of what the fan brush does too and how it is a little bit different. We'll do the fan brush up in this corner. Super fine. So that's how you get the different sizes of splatter. So you can see the super fine on the fan brush. These big drops are when I loaded my brush with water, and then these smaller drops are with my brush just saturated the first time before loading it with water. So that is how I did my mixed media on my layout. And I'm going to let you go ahead and follow along with the rest of the layout now. Thanks for watching. Okay, so now I've got my stitching done. I did it off camera. I also did a bunch of the embellishing off camera, and I don't really know what happened to the footage. I apologize, you guys. I know that's a really big disappointment. But I wanted to show you kind of a little bit more of what I did. So I'm adding some of these puffy stars to my layout, and then I'm going to add some of the phrase stickers from the sticker sheets that I have from 3 different collections from Cocoa Vanilla. And I'm just going to mix and match them with the phrases I think best works, and I'm going to ink them up with a little black soot around each one. I did use a bit of liquid glue to just secure all of those little stars, because I feel like the stars like to fall off of the page, or they get bumped off when you slide it into your page protector, and I didn't want that to happen. So I just used a little bit of the liquid glue for that. Again, I'm really sorry that I'm having to put this Messy Monday block right over the top, because I know I wanted to block the faces of the kids involved. So I apologize that that is in your way also. Yeah, I'm going to strive to do better at this because I don't know what happened to the footage. I know I had the camera on. But anyway, I did date stamp my layout there, and this is the finished product. You can see the mixed media. I will do a little bit of a close-up of that towards the end here. But that is it. Thanks for watching. Go and check out MK's channel and see what she has done for today, for Messy Monday, and for Kit Conspiracy using her kit, using pretty much the same products that I'm using, and check that out. There's a little bit of a glimpse at the mixed media there. It's very subtle, but it does make a big difference on a white background, and so I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys again tomorrow with the kit share for next week. Bye-bye.